Hey, what's up? It's Cody from the Keepers of Nerddom. How y'all doing? I thought just an interesting thought slash, rant, rave a little bit. Disney related, Iger, Chapek stuff, Guardians of the Galaxy, those kind of things. We tried to do a video a week or two ago and it got, blocked, and that's fine. And I get it because, it may have just been because we showed something in the background that got copyrighted, I don't know. But the simple fact is I think Disney needs to be talked about a bit. This whole thing with Bob Iger, stepping down to be replaced with Bob Chapek, and I think he was going to fix a lot of stuff or slowly at least get Disney back to kind of even-keeled where it mattered for everybody all around and just helped the company not be kind of weird and creepy. Unfortunately, that's not the case of what actually, transpired. And unfortunately, what really transpired was a mess. So an absolute mess. And that's unfortunate because he could potentially have fixed some things. And unfortunately, they needed it really badly. And I'll get into that here in a little bit. But Disney, what's wrong with them right now? Disney is an absolute mess, right? Disney has been going after this weird agenda of wokeness, of we're gonna do these crazy, odd, bizarre things that only a certain small demographic wants, which is ironic considering that then means that you lose money in the long term, which is kind of funny to see because that's not a good business model. But they think that it's supporting the quote-unquote right people, and then it gets kind of crazy. So just bizarre. I'm not excited that Bob Iger is back because he is going to create some serious problems for Disney in the long term. I know he's a businessman, but not a good businessman because Disney's been putting out some crazy stuff, Under Iger, if memory serves, they did get Marvel and they've made Marvel a thing, and that's true, but it's really more like Kevin Feige. But then even Kevin Feige's been losing his grip, I guess, on reality and making shows that just... I haven't really had a desire to watch Marvel except for one thing recently, and I decided to tune into the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, and James Gunn was back doing stuff for that. And let me just tell you, we actually had it on with our kids, and it was actually decently clean. I was shocked and excited because it still felt like everything James Gunn, but it was, decently clean, which is kind of neat to see, that both can happen, that it can be still the crazy, silly antics of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but also this is just designed to be a Christmas special, for the family in a way. And it was cute, it was adorable, it was funny, it was crazy and silly and goofy and awesome. And so if you haven't seen the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, I do recommend it. It's a blast. It's nothing serious. It's more of that heartfelt, warm, good storytelling. And that's good. That's what you need to do, is tell a good story. It's nothing elaborate. It's nothing crazy. It's just a good story, and it is a good story. I think one of the interesting things, though, that overall has been plaguing Disney and Marvel and other just pieces of that whole thing is they're going after an agenda that, I don't know, just strikes me as strange. Now, one of the things I haven't talked a whole lot yet on my channel, but I think it's an important note, especially after just seeing a comment on another video recently of mine, that, I'm a Christian, and the reality is it's fascinating to watch as societies rise and fall based on the things that they do, that they follow after. And as a Christian, there's a lot that I study pretty hard just to make sure that I understand the depth of it. And one of the things that's fascinating when you get down in the nitty-gritty of Scripture is that God is working and moving behind empires and nations all the time. But one of the interesting things is that, he may have just a plan in general for an empire or a nation, but that plan may also get sped up or come to fruition based on their actions. And the nation of Israel and Judah, they fell apart because they forgot God and they didn't follow after him. And not only does that mean that God judges them and says, you know what, you're done as a nation at the time, but it's also that God's morality and concepts would actually help them just have a life that was balanced and people were cared for. Beyond just the God stepping in and doing something to change that, it's literally the idea that God would give them the tools to make a nation function and flourish well, just in the sense of, if you treat people well, then all of a sudden you're going to have a community around you that's going to protect one another, that's going to look after one another, that's going to be there for one another. And that's the reality. If you treat people well, you're going to have something that flourishes. And that goes into business, right? That if you treat people well in a business, you may not make as much money, no, but you're going to have a more lasting impact and connection with those around you. And I think that's an important note. Like, some of the biggest businesses in America today, and even in the world, they may not treat people very well. They make a ton of money, but then they over time get a bad reputation and they lose their place in society. It's rather fascinating. No business lasts forever, but it is just an interesting thing to note that our society has been based on a certain morality, and a lot of that's from Scripture, and unfortunately that falls apart. And as that falls apart, then your society falls apart. And one of the things that always strikes me is that in Romans chapter 1, it really hits me, especially when I look at Disney and just all the stuff that they're trying to do and put in their movies over the past 10, 15 years, and even before that too. As a kid in the 90s, some of the movies and the things that were being said and done, just hinted at, you go, that's weird, why? And it was just to set the stage for something different that wasn't necessarily good for the country or for the ethics and morality of the society as a whole. But in Romans chapter 1, it talks about this idea that God sees us in our situation, our nation, our society, and based on the sins that we commit, he hits a point where he goes, you know what? Okay, you want to go that far? Very well. I will let you go that far, and I will open the door and let you go further. I will let you have as much sin as you want. And it's not that he's going, I totally want you to have this sin. It's him saying, I don't want you to do this, but you've already pursued it so much, I'm going to just let you have the entire door opened. And it's a sad, sad passage, because it talks about just how depraved and messed up the world gets. And it reminds me of, the things God must have seen before the flood, when he's looking around and all of man's thoughts are evil. That's the reality. I think that's interesting. And unfortunately, if Disney continues in this, not only are they going to suffer as a company and potentially like bankruptcy or something crazy like that, but they're going to just continue to go down a hill that they're influencing other people, but there's other companies that are rising up just to challenge that position, because they're going, yeah, we're not going to be that weird and gross, because that's bizarre. And unfortunately, it's just going to be one of those things that Disney has to learn the hard way, because they've rehired Bob Iger, who's been taking them down this path and it's been losing them a lot of money. And unfortunately, it's going to have an impact on our nation, our society, and it's going to have a direct impact on Disney itself too. So let me know in the comments down below what you think. I'd encourage you to read Romans 1. It's a pretty powerful passage when you get down and study it, because it's God, and I feel like just reading it, that it's God's heart breaking, saying, you know what, fine, you're going to be this messed up. I'll let you have all the messed up you want, but you're going to pay the price for it too. So I've been Cody from The Keeper's Nerddom. Take care.